Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm so happy to see you and happy to be here. I hope everybody's having a great day. We are having amazing weather here in the DC area, which sounds weird because it's like 90 something degrees, but it is also not humid for the first time in a while. So going outside is a delight. And even Puppy, who is sleeping on the floor right now, has some energy around her. We went outside. She took a little lie down in the grass and then she didn't want to come back in. I had to convince her that in order to keep living this life of luxury, I had to come inside so we could do some work. Welcome to Mindset Shifts and the What Ifs. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Lauren Lefkowitz. I am an executive coach. I believe that fine is a trap, and that fine is the thing we settle for when things are actually not fine, but we don't know what else to do. So we say we're fine. We say it's fine. We justify that we're supposed to work too hard. We're supposed to be too tired. We're supposed to not make the money we want. We're supposed to wait in line for the promotion. And I call BS on that. So welcome to the show. I'm here every Tuesday at 7:05 p.m. And every week I talk about a different topic, and I have a wheel to spin that I'll show you in a moment if you are with me on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. If you're with me on Instagram still has not integrated with the streaming services. So pop on over to LinkedIn or Facebook and you'll get to see the wheel. Otherwise, I'll announce what's on the wheel when it spins. So we'll spin the wheel. Whatever topic comes up is what I'll talk about for the next 20 minutes or so. Love, love, love comments, questions, discussion during the live. And I'm taking your questions. And if there's something that you want to talk about that you don't see or that you don't feel comfortable coming out in public with, because talking about our careers can be scary out loud, and then just send me a DM after this. And hey, Sarah, thanks so much. I'm so glad you're here. Send me a DM afterwards and I'll be happy to touch base with you. So here we go. Okay, so we're going to spin the wheel. Here it comes. All right, we've got the wheel up and let's give it a spin to see what our topic for tonight is. This always makes me feel like I'm on The Price is Right. Ooh, yes, survival mechanisms. Look how excited the automated applause is that we're going to be talking about survival mechanisms. So first, let me tell you what a survival mechanism is, because it goes by a lot of different names. And survival mechanism is a little bit coachy, a little bit therapeutic language. So I'm going to tell you what it is, and then I'm going to refer to survival mechanism as survival mechanism for the rest of our conversation. So we as humans are creatures of automation. We go into autopilot. We try to figure out the way to do things and then do them that way. So when we're little, we're learning to tie our shoes. We may learn the method where we use bunny ears, which is not what I learned. So I don't actually know how to work that. Or we may learn you make one loop, you twist it around, you make a second loop and you pull through, right? So when I go to my automatic way of being, when I'm tying my shoes, I'm going to tie it the single loop, go around, pull a loop through kind of way. You may do bunny ears. That's automatic. Okay. The survival mechanism piece that comes in is that your brain wants you to protect yourself. So if you're going to be putting on shoes and going outside, or if you're going to be going outside, you want to put on shoes so that your feet are protected, right? So that's your automatic way of making sure that you survive. Now, survival mechanism is also called our saboteurs. It's also called staying in our comfort zone. It's also called self-protection. And our brains and bodies are designed to keep us safe. And we love them for that. So as I'm talking about survival mechanisms, I am not recommending that we get rid of them. And this is something that I work on with clients a lot, because with my clients, we talk about our higher selves, or our essence, the essence of who we are when we're not interrupted by automatic ways of being, by survival mechanisms. We get to be who we are. And we have these moments in our lives that are just like pure bliss, because we're not worried, we're not protecting ourselves, we're not watching what we say because the boss might be around, we're not putting out a literal fire or a figurative fire. And survival mechanism comes from our like way back ancestral need to be protected. So if we were being chased by a lion, or if we set our loincloth on fire, we had to react, get ourselves to safety, and be able to move forward. Well, as we've evolved and as we've become much more comfortable in our environments, humans, and there is generally not a risk of being chased by a lion, we still have those instincts for self-protection. In our careers, a lot of that self-protection comes in the form of CYA, cover yourself. I like to keep the show clean. I don't speak cleanly. I always pause before I use a curse word. But we want to keep our desks clean, right? So we want to make sure we're doing our work, we're responsive, we're not making waves. Our survival mechanisms at work are strong. Don't set too many boundaries. Don't turn in something that's wrong. Don't delegate anything you can't trust will get done. And we go into this sort of heightened world in our work worlds, especially when we're not happy in our jobs. And I'll talk about that in a minute. We go into this heightened world where we want to make everything as perfect as possible, which, by the way, if you don't already know, perfection is not attainable. It is boring. And as soon as you perfect something, it will need a new level of things. So we have to stop trying to achieve perfection that doesn't exist, because we will always be disappointed in ourselves. So when we're talking about our survival mechanisms at work, we are in self-protection mode. We are in I don't want to get fired mode, even though we are typically not in danger of being fired. And I'm not going to give you absolutes here, because I don't know what your work life is like. I don't know if your company is cutting jobs or adding jobs, or if you've got performance issues, or all of those things, right? There are all kinds of things. But in your sort of normal day-to-day, when these things are not interrupting and you don't have to be in survival mode, our survival mechanisms still come up, because we want to avoid trouble. We want to people please. We want to make ourselves and everybody else happy. But as high achievers, as people pleasers, as workaholics sometimes, or as people who are not workaholics, but work is always on our minds, we tend to put ourselves in fight mode. We tend to put ourselves in survival mechanism mode. So when I am my highest self, I am fun, I'm funny, I'm a great listener, I have a lot of compassion, I am easy to be around. People often say it's like having a cup of coffee with a friend when they're talking to me about really serious stuff. And I love that all about myself. And also, if I am not comfortable, if I am in a place, in a position where I feel on the defensive or even on the offensive because of past experiences where I have had to be on the defensive, and now I've ingrained it in myself that I need to be in self-protection mode. If I am in those positions, I am not fun and funny and easy to talk to. I am worried that I'm doing it wrong. I'm trying to achieve a perfection that doesn't exist. I am compromising on things I don't want to compromise on. I'm suspicious of people. I'm suspicious of myself, right? So I'm going to give you an example of being our higher selves and being in survival mechanism mode. So if I'm my higher self and my CEO comes into my office and I'm a vice president and my CEO says, hey, Lauren, I need to talk to you about something. If I'm in my higher self mode, if I am being the self that doesn't go on the defensive, that doesn't get into fear mode, then I am going to have compassion and concern for him, or her, or them. And I'm thinking of a former CEO who I really liked, who was male and remains male. And he, let's say he came into my office and he said, I need to talk to you about something. If I'm in my higher self mode, my compassion comes out. I want to help him. I want to care about him. I want to problem solve with him. My strategic mind is turned on and ready to go. If I am in my own survival mechanisms, instead of being concerned about him and his need and what's going on and what he needs to talk to me about, my brain is going to go into, Lauren, what did you do wrong? What did you screw up? What do you have to fix? Who complained about you? Who did you delegate something to that you shouldn't have delegated to? Right. And so I'm going into the spin of all of the things that are wrong. Now, with that particular CEO, I didn't have that concern. So when he came to my office, I could be my highest self because I wasn't concerned that I was in trouble for something. When I've worked for other people, whether it was because I was heightened because of my own stuff, right? We all have our own stuff, or whether it was because there was a pattern of me being reprimanded or being pushed down or being disrespected or being dismissed, then, I was a different person in those circumstances. When I was in an environment early in my HR career, before I was in coaching, I worked in an environment where people were looking to get other people in trouble. The way to get ahead was to push other people down. I was always in survival mechanism mode. And Sarah says that you did that spin today. Yeah. I'm sorry that happened. And also, you're so normal. And we don't just outgrow it. We have to really work at it. So one thing that's important is your external environment. That is important. And I don't want to dismiss the importance of that, because you deserve to be in an environment where the circumstances around you are positive, or at the very least neutral. Where the money is good enough, I think it should be great. But where the money is good enough, where the environment makes you either really happy and really excited to be there, or you don't really care about it and you don't really care that you don't care about it, right? So that's when fine is fine. I don't often think fine is fine, but if your energy is your knitting hobby that happens after work, then that's where your energy goes. Then you come to work, you do your job, you go home, you're done, right? It's the fine piece comes into where your energy is. And Sarah says, thanks for saying that. I was beating myself up. I need to stop. It's a very hostile environment. Yeah. So now I'm going to talk about the hostility, right? And the toxicity that comes in. I work with so many people who beat themselves up, just like you said, Sarah, who beat themselves up because they think they should be able to solve everything, right? And they think that if they say the right thing or do the right thing or work the right kind of hard, that they are going to put themselves in a position where they are the Mary Poppins of the office. And we come in, tough love, fix everything, and now we're the heroes. I played that role for years and years and years, which is why I can call it out in other people and why I can see it in other people. And what happens in a toxic environment or a hostile environment is that we are constantly getting beaten up from other sides. And if it's not us, we're watching other people get beaten up. So instead of our goal being growth and impact and positivity and excelling and feeling successful, our goal is avoiding trouble. And that is exhausting. And it is a lot. It is all encompassing. It takes all of your energy. It makes you say all the time, I'm fine. It's fine. This is just how work is. I'll look for something else at some point. But the longer we're in this environment, the longer we're in this survival mechanism, the longer that we are in our reactive status of, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. The longer we live like that, the more exhausting it is. And that's what leads us to burnout. It also leads us to not really knowing what our skills are anymore, because we get beaten up for doing things the way that we've been successful in doing them before. And instead of getting praise or nothing, right? Just like, oh, you're doing your job, cool. We're getting blowback because we're not doing it the way some micromanager has done it in the past. And, some companies have that, like at my old school mentality, right? Where they want you to do things how things have always been done. And Sarah, I'm so happy you're in this discussion with me. I super appreciate it. I know we have other people watching, and some people are nervous to say things out loud in writing. So I really appreciate that you're saying things that people are feeling. I try so hard. It's not recognized nor appreciated. I find myself asking what did I do? I'm sick all of the time. And like you find yourself saying it's fine. Yeah, I'm so sorry that's happening to you. I have been there. My clients have been there. It is hard. And what it does, and Sarah, this is what I want you to avoid and other people who are watching to avoid, is the thing that happens after you've been in your survival mechanisms for so long, after you've been in reactivity for so long, after you've been in this place where you're just trying so hard to get what your work level feels like is even fine, right? Even though you're saying it's fine, that you're out of energy, right? All of your energy is going towards work. You wake up in the morning, you're thinking about work. You leave work, you're thinking about work. Sometimes you're checking in before you go to bed on your phone before the night is over, so you make sure you didn't miss anything. And then you're waking up at 3:00 in the morning and thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't order the blah, blah, blah. And now I have to fix that tomorrow. And well, it's basically tomorrow anyway. So I'm just going to lie in bed thinking about this all night. Again, I say all this stuff from experience. I say all this stuff from my experience with clients, that we as high achieving humans want to do the very best job. And when we hear from anybody, whether it's true or not, that we're not doing the very best job that could be done, or we're in an environment where there's a ton of infighting and a ton of finger pointing and a ton of not my job, so we're the ones, because we're high achievers and we care, who pick up the slack, we get beaten down. And the challenge with getting beaten down the way that we do, is that we believe it. So when we're living in survival mechanism, when we're not living in our highest selves, when we're not living in the way that makes us feel good about us, and we're not living in the way that we feel when we're sitting with our best friend and we don't have any pretenses, we don't have to act any certain way, we just are, we just be, right? We just be ourselves. When we are in that mode, we're not making ourselves sick. And Sarah, you said it makes you physically sick. I am a person who lives with chronic illness. I've lived with chronic illness for almost 20 years. And stress did not cause the illness that I have, but it for sure made it worse. I am a migraine sufferer since I was 15 years old. When I worked the crazy hours I worked and the crazy way that I worked, I had a constant migraine, just like one long migraine. And some days it was worse, and some days it was a little less bad, but I had one constant migraine. Part of the way I work now is that I get rest. I had the time to find the right treatment for my migraines, which I didn't have time for when I was in my 80+ hour a week corporate life. And I look out for me in this way, which is hard to do when you're feeling like you're on your own, you're on an island, and you are trying to just manage to this stress. And when you keep yourself in this mode, and I say you keep yourself because we do have choices, and the choices are hard to make. And there's not necessarily a quick, like, oh, I'm ready to get out of here, here's the job, right? Job searching is also time and energy. and scary and sometimes disappointing. But what happens when we keep getting knocked down is we lose confidence. And most of my clients who come to me, when they come to me for the very first conversation to talk to me about working with me before we even work together, they tell me what they're willing to give up in order to be less unhappy. It's not even happier. I'll take a pay cut. If I need to switch industries and drop a level, I'll drop a level. If I don't get to manage people at my next job, that's okay. I'm willing to take this. I'm willing to take that. And that's what I don't want to see. Because when I then work with my clients, their shift is to doubling their salaries in a lot of cases, finding that integration of work and life that feels healthy for them, finding a place, knowing what questions to ask in an interview to try to avoid those toxic workspaces. But the toxic workspace does that to you. It knocks you down and it makes you think, well, I was a vice president here, but I'm lucky I was a vice president because they say I'm not doing a good job here, or they're telling me to wait my turn for the next promotion, or they're telling me I'm great in this position and they can't see me in any other position. And now I think my level should be lower and lower and lower and lower, and like I don't even belong in the position I'm in. So if I'm a vice president here or I'm a director here, I'm going to need to drop to manager if I go somewhere else, because I'm going to have to learn a new industry and a new product. You know who's not dropping to manager from vice president? Other vice presidents who are moving to companies where they're executive vice presidents, or a bigger fish in a bigger sea, or a bigger fish in a smaller sea. When we're in this toxicity, when we're in survival mode, survival mechanism, we don't believe in ourselves anymore. And I know from my personal experience that my way out ended up being that I could not help myself. So here I was coaching people for 15 years on the side while I worked full-time in HR for 20 years. So I for sure had the training and experience. And I looked at myself and I thought I was unfixable. I thought I was unmanageable because I knew how to fix everybody else and I couldn't fix myself. And what I learned, my big lesson, my big life lesson that changed my entire life, was that we are not meant to help ourselves. We are not meant to figure ourselves out. We are not objective enough for that. If I ask you what's wrong with you, you're going to list 42 different things. If I ask you what is great about you, you're going to like sort of shake your head and say like one or two things. And so your role, your opportunity in all of this, right? The big sort of waves hands vaguely kind of thing, is that you get to figure out what is going to help you. And you get to decide if you're going to come out of your survival mechanisms, get connected to your higher self, your uninterrupted self, and really figure out like, who do you want to be when you grow up? You have to get some support for that. And whether that's a coach like me, that which I think is the best solution, of course, right? Here I am. But whether that's a coach like me, whether that's a mentor, whether that's books or a course or something like that, you owe it to yourself to figure out who you want to be when you grow up, no matter what age or stage you are. Because you deserve happiness, you deserve joy, you deserve satisfaction, you deserve money. And I'm rooting for you. So thank you so much for being here tonight. I will see you next week at the same time, 7:05 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. Also, next Wednesday is her mastermind, or is Beyond Fine. Her mastermind is a mastermind group that I'm in, which is fabulous. But that's not what's next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is Beyond Fine, which is the mastermind I run. It's a free drop-in mastermind for unstoppable women leaders. And it's an hour long, 7 p.m. next Wednesday, July 26th. The link to sign up is in the description of this event. And I absolutely look forward to seeing you there if you can come to that, or seeing you back here next week. And Sarah, absolutely, we for sure can connect. Let's connect in the DMs and we can have a conversation. Thanks so much for asking. Have an amazing night, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next week. Take care.